Now I remember Steak Diane. It was an old favourite when I first started in restaurants. Actually, I must tell you a lovely little story. We had a guy called Tiger Johnson who's still around. He lives in Sydney these days. He still is a bit of a, not a dag, but he's good fun, Tiger. He really has got a great sense of humour. Anyway, the point of the story is he and I started in restaurants at the same time, and these were the days when Steak Diane was terribly popular, but it was done at the table. And this place, it was called the Plaza, and it was in Wellington, New Zealand. The worst restaurant you've ever been to in your life, but anyway, that's another story. Anyway, everyone did their own flambés. Now, Tiger had just started. I mean, he was about 17, the same age as me. And he'd just started. The first night he's there, they said, oh, here's your Steak Diane, go and flambe it. Well, he not only lit the tablecloth, but the curtains as well. So he was barred from flambeing. But that is not the point of the story. The point of the story is I actually quite enjoyed some of those flambés. The crepe Suzette was always lovely done at the table. Steak Diane wasn't too bad if the man knew what he was doing, or woman, of course. Anyway, I reckon it's time for Steak Diane to come back in our household anyway, because I think it's a lovely dish. Because basically what it is it's a piece of good beef, and it's got a nice creamy, stocky sauce with some mushrooms and a few other bits and pieces. Yeah. Good stuff. First of all, you need a decent piece of steak. So I've got a piece of porterhouse there, and of course I've taken it out of the fridge for about half an hour before I cook it. You know the story. And I'm just going to batten that out a bit, because Steak Diane is sort of a minute steak, but don't get silly about it. And the reason I say don't get silly about it, you want to be able to cook it how you like it. And as my old mate Gavin Disney, who was my boss at Healthy, Wealthy and Wise, used to say to me, he said, you would just slice a bit off the back of a cow and eat it. I didn't say that, that was a bit rude. Anyway, I do like my steak very rare, I must admit. So we'll just batten that out. And then you season it really well, salt and pepper. And well, nice sea salt. Plenty of pepper. And then in the pan, I put some good olive oil. And we're just going to seal it first of all, because then we're going to make the sauce. And this is an easy way to cook a steak, because you seal it and then you make the sauce around it, and then you return it and cook it to your desired degree. Make sure that's hot. And we're just going to, as I said, seal that on both sides. Then we're going to pull it out. So we're not cooking it at this stage, we're just sealing it. But while that's happening, I'll just chop a bit of parsley. When I first started in kitchens too, I had two jobs. I chopped 3 tons of parsley, because we were very keen on parsley in those days. And I cleaned 300 tons of spinach, because we like cream spinach. So you know how you start off with a big box of spinach and you end up with about this much? Well, you can imagine how many boxes I did for a restaurant that seated 100, and every single one of them got some cream spinach. But that's another story too. Just keep an eye on that steak, because as I said, I only want to seal it, but I want a bit of a crust on it. Don't chop the parsley too finely, because it's going into the sauce and I don't want it too fine. And you can use the same plate to take that off, and the reason being is because we are continuing to cook it. So I'll just put that over there for now. And what I've got here is I've got 1/4 of an onion and about 4 or 5 mushrooms, which I have just sliced. The onion is chopped finely, the mushrooms are sliced reasonably finely, and I've got a nice big plump clove of garlic to go with it too. Now what I also add to that, just add some extra flavour to this sauce. I add a good dollop of butter. A combination of that and the olive oil will just give that some beautiful flavours. And then we just saute that, turn it down a bit. At this stage, you want a bit of colour in it, but not too much. I don't want to burn the blessed stuff. And so we just saute those until they're cooked reasonably well, or started the cooking process, I suppose I really should say. And to that, we add just some packet beef stock's fine, but just as long as it's low salt. And we also add some cream and a good slurp of brandy. Now, traditionally in a Steak Diane, they put a bit of Worcester sauce. You can do that if you like. I'm not that big a fan of the Worcester sauce in it, I have to be honest. We will season it later when we reduce it. So what we're now going to do is we're going to reduce this, adding a bit more stock and a bit more cream if necessary, but just to accentuate its flavours, so make sure you taste it a little bit later on. That'll take about 5 minutes, then we will return the steak. Now we're looking pretty good here, so let's just have a little taste, which is really important. As I always say to you, I have worked with chefs before who don't taste anything. How can you cook and not taste? Oh, really good. Chop parsley in, return the steak. It certainly doesn't need any seasoning. So as I said, you put the steak back in and you cook it to your desired degree. Turn it down a bit, you don't want it bubbling too much. So you just keep turning it here and there, just to get that sauce into it. You can see why they cook this at the table, because it's so simple, isn't it? You only need one pan, and you really can. A little bit of flaming. You know, they used to flame the brandy. I'm not a great believer in flaming it. Cooks the alcohol away, no, my friends. And what would traditionally go with this is a claret. And we're not allowed to call them clarets anymore. I find that a bit strange, because I don't think claret is a French term, is it? I can understand champagne, but I don't think claret. I think claret's an English term, but I don't know. Anyway, we're not allowed to call it claret, but what we want is a nice Cabernet Sauvignon, and we've got this. Oh, yes, a Wins. I'm a great fan of Wins. Any Coonawarra Cabernet Sauvignon will be great with this, but that one in particular is going to be very special. Right, turn that off. So as I said, a Cabernet Sauvignon with that, and plenty of that lovely sauce. So I promise you, you're going to love it. And I've got a little fancy something to come with it. Aren't I nice? You thought I was just being a bit plain here, but I have got something, and I'll just put that down there for you, my dear mate James. Just to finish it off. You know, what are we talking? Steak and potatoes, aren't we? So I've got some lovely kipflers, and I've got lots of them because I have to be honest, if I don't eat them all with my steak, what will happen is I love them cold. This is one thing I don't mind cooking extras. So we have got our claret. Don't say that, Ian. Don't say that word. You'll be in trouble. The French will chase me. We've got our claret, we've got our potatoes, and we've got our wonderful Steak Diane. You see why I'm saying I want to bring it back? And I maybe could get Tiger Johnson to do a guest appearance and flame the tablecloth and the curtains and oh, shut up, you. Anyway, you'll enjoy that. It's fun, it's simple, and it really, really is tasty.